Look, the reality is this. You do have to have a real fan base to a certain extent, right? You have to have people who are really consuming the music, and your song has to actually be moving around organically. Once it's that, then they'll push the button on it. And it just depends, like, it's a campaign. It could be like, it's like a 12-week campaign, and it might be 60 grand, 70 grand, whatever it is.
That's it.
And it's, oh yeah.
To have the #1 song
and
on
that
Spotify.
70 grand, the ROI is crazy, because that 70 grand might bring you back 200, 300.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is a sad day in history.
But then, you know what I'm saying, I was like, damn, look at the state of hip-hop. Like, what's going on?
You know, of course, when starting off with the biggest musician, objectively speaking, in the world, I just want to thank all the support for my Taylor Swift coverage.
You guys.
And when it comes to that, safe to say the Swifties have been supporting the Notorious Mass Effect to the point where I took my time getting into this Drake lawsuit, because at the end of the day, this is the conclusion. We have closed or ended the chapter of Drake versus UMG. As of right now, because of course they say he can appeal, but when it comes to the biggest musician in the industry, safe to say, I've been breaking down Taylor Swift like a kilo of Miley Cyrus.
But then, you know what I'm saying, I was like, damn.
But when it comes to my favorite musician, which is Drake, Aubrey Graham, is very much an L in the most unthinkable way. Because of course, somebody said on the internet, and shout out to you, man, you a funny individual. This man said Drake lost the black way and he lost the white way.
But then, you know what I'm saying, I was like, damn, look at the state of hip-hop. Like, what's going on?
So the thing I'm referring to as far as Drake losing is, of course, his case versus UMG has been dismissed. And when I say that, not only was it dismissed, it was dismissed in full, meaning that Drake can appeal, but guess what? It's probably not going to go through. I think the main thing about this is that when Judge Jeannette A. Vargas from U.S. District Court in New York, which is funny because, of course, I was in New York around the same time that this news dropped, dismissed it and basically said that the defamation part of UMG allegedly published and promoting Kendrick's Not Like Us, despite knowing it falsely accused Drake of being a pedophile, that part was dismissed. And essentially, she said it's not a factual assertion and that the lyrics were ruled as, quote, figurative, hyperbolic, and part of a heated rap battle. And then she went on to say, it was perhaps, quote, this is a quote from Judge Vargas, quote, perhaps the most infamous rap battle in the genre's history. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you one thing. If the judge start talking about objectively how great the rap battle was, safe to say, you already know what side she on.
I know that ain't who I think it is.
I know they ain't the judge up there talking about how great the rap battle is. Like, hold up now. We try and get into this payola embodying allegations, which is why I started off the segment the way I started off, because, of course, I was looking at this lawsuit being dismissed, and I was thinking to myself, you know, aside from breaking down Taylor Swift like a kilo of Miley Cyrus, we also broke down the whole lawsuit to the point where I still have it to this day. So I went through it and basically asked it specifically, what parts of the lawsuit did she address as far as payola? And you would not believe what it said. So now, when we get into that, definitely make sure to rate this 5 stars, because nobody out there is breaking down full documents like I am over here at the Notorious Mass Effect. Academics does it to a certain point, but as far as the whole lawsuit, I'm breaking it down page by page. I'm going to give you specifics to where you could go as far as the lawsuit that I'm talking about, as far as the UMG defamation and payola case. So anyways, make sure to rate this 5 stars and share this with somebody who you think would enjoy an expert analysis of the UMG case. Anyways, the most interesting part to me was how the judge dismissed the case, even though the biting allegations to me was the most substantial. That seemed like the best attack for Drake as far as talking about the biting allegation, because that's technically illegal. But guess what? Judge Vargas basically came out and said she doesn't care. Like, she literally said she doesn't care. Well, not literally, but, you know, figuratively speaking. Because what she actually said is that Drake failed to provide to prove consumer harm under NY general business. So New York general business law. And of course it said 349. I had to look up what in the world that meant, because I'm not a lawyer. It says section 349 is this context referring to a specific part of the Texas Finance Code. In chapter 349, it deals with penalties and liabilities regarding consumer finance transactions. And this section outlines the conditions, limitations, and legal responsibilities involving acts such as charging, excess interest, licensing, venue for actions, limitation periods for legal claims, and liabilities for non-compliance with chapter provisions. So when it comes to that, she said chapter 40, as far as it not proving consumer harm under New York general business law in chapter 349, it basically acknowledged that UMG's alleged 30,000 baht payments for Not Like Us streams in section 2 of page 6 of the lawsuit. Once again, we read off the whole lawsuit if you want to hear me break that down specifically before, the case being dismissed, because obviously we have up-to-date news now. But when it comes to Drake versus UMG, when did I break down that lawsuit? Drake versus, let me see, Drake. Oh my goodness, I've talked about Drake a lot. I ain't gonna cap to you. UMG fires back over a lawsuit. Okay, that happened March 18, 2025. I don't know if that's the main thing. Discovery, April 3rd, 2025. Drake amends defamation lawsuit against UMG to include Super Bowl, April 2020. Okay, so I broke down this lawsuit a lot. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm trying to see, because I kept bringing up the lawsuit in full. So I would type in Drake lawsuit, Analytic Dreamz with a Z to see all my coverage of the lawsuit. My latest one was April 24th, 2025. And breaking down the whole lawsuit basically gave you a bigger picture of how UMG's response to Drake was specifically focusing on the defamation. They did not want to touch the payola with a 10-foot pole, which is why when the judge comes out and says that she dismisses the whole lawsuut, even though the botting allegations she claims is true, or no, that Drake's team is claim is true, the judge literally said it didn't rule or it didn't deceive or injure consumer.
But then, you know what I'm saying? I was like, damn, look at the state of hip hop. Like, what's going on?
So you telling me if a major label wanted to buy a song or an album, as long as it doesn't deceive or injure consumers, then we should just let it fly? I guess this is really the steroid era of the music industry, because the judge just said that the $30,000 bot payment for Not Like Us, which is section 2, page 6 of the lawsuit, didn't deceive or injure consumers. She didn't even say, oh, I think it's flat out lie that you saying that they paid for streams. She just saying it didn't deceive. I'm specifically focusing on this because I think this is a very interesting maneuver to evade accountability on UMG's side, which, to be fair, the whole music industry runs off this type of marketing rollout. I always say, in any land, as far as influencer lane, if you don't have a marketing budget with a solid team behind you, then you probably aren't going to be considered a real player in the influencer lane, because there's a lot of people using certain maneuvers with teams behind them that will put them ahead of you, to the point where if you look at the current market share, and because of Taylor Swift, it's kind of wonky right now as far as the actual market share. Others, which is, and let me actually I can't screen because that's gonna pop up, but let me see. I'm just gonna pull this up right quick. Actually, I'm just gonna tell y'all. So others, which is smaller labels and independent acts, have a whopping 1% currently. Usually is between 5 to 6%. The biggest musician in the world just dropped. So UMG currently has 90% of the entire music market share. Warner has 6%. Sony has 3%. So when it comes to that, I already broke that down as far as my Taylor Swift coverage. If you just want to see some of that as far as the market share, me specifically bringing up the photos for that. But the main thing I want to get into is that being an independent influencer and an independent creator, which is the same thing, is very hard unless you have a marketing strategy. Like I'm gonna keep referring to the clip I played at the beginning because it's really poignant as far as what I'm trying to get across. You have to have an organic fan base. There's no world where nobody messes with you. You have a marketing team and now everybody messes with you. That's not how it works. Usually you need an organic foundation, right? And now you build upon that with your marketing team. Safe to say, that is how you start to be in the big leagues as far as an influencer. Now, maybe I'm just talking. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm just talking. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? I only do this for a living. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, getting back into Drake. Pause. Hey, yo.
You guys. See, that's the problem.
This dismissal was very surprising to me because of that specific fact, because of the payola and bots being such a real argument for Drake's team. I never thought that defamation was a real thing. I mean, come on now. It's a rap battle. Jay-Z just said worse things than Nas. Nas says worse things than Jay-Z. RP to Notorious B.I.G. and Tupac, they literally died over their beef. So real things have happened because of a rap battle. The judge is looking at this and looking at the defamation and saying to yourself, I mean, if Joe Budden didn't say one thing, he basically laid the groundwork for a lot of Drake slander. But one of the main things he said recently is that the breaking news, Drake is a bitch.
But then, you know what I'm saying? I was like, damn, look at the state of hip hop. Like, what's going on?
And because it's a PG podcast, I'm not going to say the actual word, but I spelled it out for you, right? So anyways, that's basically what a lot of people are looking at Drake as far as the defamation side of the lawsuit. But for me, I always focus on the payola, which is why I read off the specifics of what the judge said to the payola point before I get into the rest of it. So let's get into the rest of it right now. Judge Vargas dismissed the lawsuit, declaring not like us a non-actionable opinion, not a factual assertion. The lyrics were ruled as figurative, hyperbolic, and part of a heated rap battle. And she said, quote, the average listener is not under the impression that a diss track is the product of a thoughtful or disinterested investigation conveying fact-checked, verifiable content. The judge also went on to describe the feud as perhaps the most infamous rap battle in the genre's history, which, you know, it definitely is. You know, I see that. Hold on, let me look up Judge Vargas. No, just play.
Shepherd.
All right, let me see. Let me lock in. Let me find out. She on the
Shepherd.
Okay, I ain't gonna do it. But anyways, getting back into the act, what she was saying, she seems like she's a real Side 7 fan. Perhaps the most infamous rap battle in the genre's history, which, you know, to be fair, I was saying that as well. Like, I do think this is the biggest rap battle we've ever seen. Obviously, Notorious, Tupac, Jay-Z, Nas laid the groundwork for this Drake and Kendrick back and forth. But that's basically what she said. And then she came out and said that when it comes to the UMG and Drake legal battle, overall, UMG's statements were, quote, from the outset, this suit was an affront to all artists in their creative expression and never should have seen the light of day, end quote. Then they have another quote. We're pleased with the court's dismissal and look forward to continuing our work promoting Drake's music and investing in his career, end quote. Now, let me let y'all in on a little secret. If you go against a major label, there's things that happen to you. Now, I'm no conspiracy theorist, so I'm not going to say anything crazy. But Drake's albums that's on the charts, safe to say, album as far as the one that has the most hands in the pot is currently his most popular. Take Care is the 26th most played album in the world. Some Sexy Songs for You is the 28th most played album in the world. Now, Some Sexy Songs for You is still doing, you know, still performing well. But you're probably thinking, well, Take Care is just his best album. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. When Pusha T said, you signed to one dude, who signed to another dude, who signed to 5 people, he was talking about this Take Care album. Safe to say, so many hands are in the pot for this Take Care album that, of course, Drake is still making money. Like, nobody's saying Drake is broke. But when it comes to albums that Drake would prefer to be chart topping, I think Take Care is towards the latter as far as which album he would prefer to be the most popular. Because now he has more hands-on control. I mean, you just look at the credits. YMCB/Republic. You look at Some Sexy Songs for You, OVO/Republic, which is technically under Sony because of the partnership. But when it comes to that, Drake is specifically having more masters and royalties over his later albums because guess what? He has more negotiating power now. When Take Care came out, everybody and their mama was getting a percentage off of that Drake album because, you know, he was getting help from a lot of people. Jay Prince, Birdman, UMG. I mean, like I keep saying, if you already have an organic foundation, you need a marketing team to boost you into the big dogs as far as the big leagues. Now, when it comes to Drake, I think the Take Care being the 26th most played Drake album in the world is basically showcasing that, hey, we made you. You see how your latest album is not even more popular than Take Care, which we probably have more masters and royalties over? We're letting you know that we made you, we can make another you, and what you think is going to happen organically is far from the case. So Drake's team, going back to the lawsuit, Drake's team came out and said, quote, we intend to appeal today's ruling and look forward to the Court of Appeals reviewing it, end quote. So this lawsuit has been dismissed in full. Drake can appeal, and the main thing that's being pointed out is the First Amendment and a major victory for the First Amendment, and sets a precedent reinforcing that rap diss tracks are artistic opinion and not factual defamation. So the reason why Drake would think it's factual defamation is because Kendrick put his house on the Not Like Us cover, and then his house got shot up days after the Not Like Us track. I mean, you know, as far as, let me see, Drake Mansion. Let me see if I can find this right quick. I know I covered this. Yeah, here we go. May 7th, 2024. I cover shooting outside of Drake's mansion, injuring security guard. Now, when you look at the release date of Not Like Us, and then you look at when the happenings of the mansion shooting, and then you look at the happenings of the mansion shooting as far as the date, safe to say you can understand. And, you know, that's aside from the PDF allegations, right? You can see why Drake is so upset over Kendrick being able to put his house on his cover. To this day, the insider report is UMG approached Kendrick's team. You know, my sources could be outmade up. At this point in time, y'all should know. UMG went to Kendrick's team. They was like, hey, can you change the cover? And guess what? Guess what Kendrick's team said? Hey, if we change the cover, we're going to take the whole song down. Mind you, Not Like Us was putting up an exorbitant amount of numbers to the point where it's probably going to end up being one of the most popular tracks of all time. UMG saw the dollar amount coming in. Like you heard at the beginning of this video, Russ talking about certain like streaming allegations, bots to blow up a certain track. Not Like Us was already out of here organically. So now you're going to push the button on it. You're about to make a generational amount of money off of one particular track. UMG, looking at their bottom line, basically said to themselves, we might as well just let him keep the track up because we don't want him to take the whole entire track down over a cover art. So that specifically not being able to be used in a lawsuit to the point where it's not dismissed entirely, that's another red flag to me. Not only is the payola bot allegations, I think that's a real argument. Not only is the house being on a Not Like Us, his house being on a Not Like Us cover to the point where his mansion was shot at. I don't even know if she commented on that. Hold on, let me see. Did the judge Vargas, was that name Vargas, comment on the house shooting connecting to the Not Like Us track? Because that's the biggest point to me. I think that would be an obvious W for Drake's team, but you never know. So hey, it seemed like they just don't care. Oh, she actually did comment on it. Okay, so Judge Jeannette Vargas, and mind you, I have the whole document, so this is basically what I'm going into. I have the whole document uploaded and stuff. So she commented on the Drake shooting at the Toronto mansion, and let me see, she rejected this, ruling the lyrics were non-actionable opinion in a rap battle context, hyperbolic, not factual assertions, including inciting verifiable harm. If Drake's security getting shot and having real wounds from the mansion shooting is not verifiable harm, then I don't know what is. She did note that the song's cover art depicted Drake's home with the sex offender markers, but emphasized listeners wouldn't view a diss track as, quote, fact check verifiable content. The shooting wasn't deemed casually linked as the fuse rhetoric was protected expression.
But then, you know what I'm saying? I was like, damn, look at the state of hip hop. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, some of this stuff is just like, once again, I thought the defamation was the worst part of this lawsuit. But for the lawsuit to get dismissed in full is very surprising. And not only because I'm a Drake fan, but also because if you are a rapper and get into a rap battle and somebody puts your whole house on their diss track and then your house gets shot up days after, safe to say, you would probably try to pull some strings to get that cover art taken off by linking into that shooting. But as the judge just said, the shooting wasn't deemed casually linked as the fuse rhetoric was protected expression. Well, honestly, if I was petty, and I'm not, I'm not a petty man, but if I was to give petty advice to Drake, I guess it's fair game. I guess it's time to put Kendrick's house on your next track and see what happens.
But then, you know what I'm saying? I was like, damn, look at the state of hip hop. Like, what's going on?
But anyways, getting into the rest of the lawsuit, that's basically it. The main thing I was wanting to get into is that's basically it. It was so much as far as the defamation and stuff I was wanting to talk about. That was the main points I was wanting to get into. I guess let's get into the rest of the document, because I know people have been waiting for this. Like I said, I've been covering Taylor Swift, and they've been like, the Swifties been supporting me to the point I was like, hold on now, I may be a
You got it.
no, I'm just playing. I'm not Swiftie, but you get the point. But safe to say, I covered the entire music industry. So, I had to cover the biggest artists. But let's get back into my favorite artists. So, getting into the rest of the lawsuit, because I specifically wanted to know what she talked about as far as the payola and stuff, right? So, we're going to call out pages and certain parts of the 38-page lawsuit, right? So, she dismissed the lawsuit. We already talked about that. Judge Vargas found no substantial evidence that UMG's alleged use of bots to artificially inflate Not Like Us streams or payola-like tactics such as secret payments or reduced licensing rates to radio stations, which was another point, but it's whatever. That didn't deceive or harm consumers. So she basically said, we don't care about botting if it doesn't deceive or harm consumers. Well, you heard it here, musicians. Time to bot away, man. As long as you don't deceive or harm consumers, which, if you bot, you're definitely deceiving consumers. But that's a whole nother argument. In her opinion of the lawsuit, she noted that Drake's complaint alleged UMG paid $30,000. Okay, we already talked about that. And once again, I'm gonna tell you why she went away from it again. As referenced in the Texas Rule 202 petition, Section 2, page 6 of the lawsuit, Vargas ruled this was insufficient to meet the Section 349 requirement, which once again is the Texas Finance Code, Chapter 349, which deals with penalties and liabilities regarding consumer finance transactions. So anyways, Vargas ruled this was insufficient to meet 349's requirements of consumer-oriented deception causing injury. She cited insufficient to meet 349's requirements of consumer-oriented deception causing injury. She cited industry norms arguing that promotional strategies, including paid streams or airplay boosts, are standard practices in the music marketing.
But then, you know what I'm saying? I was like, damn, look at the state of hip hop. Like, what's going on?
Vargas emphasized that consumers aware of streaming metrics manipulative. Hold up now. That's not it. I gotta spell it out now. Manipulability. There we go. I don't use that word a lot. I'm never gonna use that word again. Weren't misled into believing, quote, not like us, success was solely organic. Ladies and gentlemen, these are actual quotes from the judge. This is not just something I made up. And the reason why I say that is because it sounds so asinine that the judge just come out and say that nobody cares about botting because the consumers already know it's not solely organic. Like, what in the world are we teaching our youth?
You guys. See, that's the problem.
This is basically showcasing that if life is too hard, ladies and gentlemen, there's always the easy way out. If you're not getting enough plays, then just bot. Because, of course, like Judge Vargas just said, nobody believes that certain tracks are just solely organic. So anyways, let's continue. This lacks provable consumer harm beyond Drake's personal brand devaluating during contract talks. And that is why it was dismissed. So as far as private right for harassment, Drake's complaint linked to bots and payola to her harassment claim, asserting that UMG's amplification of Not Like Us turned him into a pariah. I don't know what that means. Vargas dismissed this, ruling that New York law does not provide a private right of action for harassment under 349 or related statute. She acknowledged Drake's argument that inflating streams and airplay, Section 2, page 4 of the lawsuit, amplified defamatory lyrics, but found no legal basis for a harassment claim tied to the deceptive practice. The judge noted that any harassment stemmed from the song's content ruled as non-actionable opinion, not the promotion methods. This severed the casual link between bots/payola in a compensable. How you say this? What in the world? Compensable? It's not comprehensible. Y'all chill out. It's missing the H. What in the world is compensable? Is that like compensate? Why don't they just say that? Anyways, my fault. Injury. Further supporting dismissal. Y'all don't know. I don't know if this is making sense to y'all. It's not making sense to me. Even if bots and payola boosted Not Like Us, such as the Super Bowl halftime show, such as the Grammy performances, Vargas, which is the judge, ruled the lyrics remain non-actionable opinion. A quote, non-actionable opinion, end quote. Within the rap battle context, she described the feud as perhaps the most infamous rap battle in the genre's history. We already talked about that. And she said, quote, the average listener is not under the impression that a diss track is the product of a thoughtful or disinterested investigation, conveying fact-checked, verifiable content. It's not making sense to me. I ain't gonna lie to you. This aligned with her findings that lyrics accusing Drake of pedophilia were figurative, hyperbolic, not factual assertions, or a reasonable listener would take as true. Interesting. Vargas held UMG not liable as the song's promotional boost didn't transform opinion into fact.
You guys. See, that's the problem.
She noted that this is a quote, she noted that, quote, even apparent statements of fact may assume the character of opinion amid epithets, fiery rhetoric, or hyperbole, end quote, dismissing defamation liability tied to bots or payola. The judge didn't directly address the Texas case payola allegations as far as Section 1, pages 5 through 6, but focused on New York's legal framework. So essentially speaking, she didn't acknowledge a lot of things as far as the payola bots. Basically just said, as far as Section 349, they can't do anything about it. Crazy day in history. UMG's spokesperson called the suit, quote, an affront to creative expression, while Drake's team said they look forward to the appeal. Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. As far as Drake's lawsuit, the defamation was the weakest part, in my opinion. I never thought that it would just get dismissed entirely, especially after all the money that Drake's team spent. I think they're definitely going to have to take this L and hopefully just learn from it, because I don't think suing after a rap battle is ever the right direction, especially if you're a rapper. So I've always criticized it from that standpoint. And with his team looking to appeal, I'm not going to tell Drake that they're trying to milk you for your money. But all I'm going to say is it doesn't make any sense why they're going to appeal it, because at this point in time, this battle is basically it. This battle's over. Like that one person on the internet said, you lost the white way and you lost the black way. Sad day of history. I mean, you look at Drake and you say to himself,
I know that ain't who I think it is.
It's crazy how the black side and the white side mixed together to be one of the notorious ASS whoopings we've ever seen in the hip hop industry. So anyways, with that being said, I guess we could talk about what's next for Drake. After breaking this down like a kilo of Miley Cyrus, because y'all been waiting for this, so I didn't want to, sugarcoat or cut any of the corners as far as covering this lawsuit. I broke down the specific parts of the lawsuit. I thought it was not a home run, but basically I thought it was a great point. And as you can see, because of the Texas, whatever, the Section 349, the Texas Finance Code, the limitations, I guess they can't address it specifically. And whenever she did address it specifically, she literally just said that it didn't have any consumer harm under the New York General Business Law, which is the Section 349. And she went on to say that it didn't deceive or injure consumers. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a musician out there, I guess you could just bot away as long as it doesn't deceive or injure consumers. Make that make sense. So, like I say, I always try to keep it 8 more than 92. If she would have gave an actual fair reason as far as why she dismissed the payola part, I would have came in and say that Drake should have filed the lawsuit. Well, I don't think he should. Yeah, there's no lawsuit that makes sense after losing a rap battle. But as far as the payola aspect, I thought that made the most sense as far as in the lawsuit. The reasoning for dismissal is a slap in the face to people who point out certain payola tactics and look for some type of compensation because of it. Because safe to say, independent creators out there, you would think this is a W for you. But just know, if somebody has a lot more money than you and they're already popular in the influencer space and they already have a marketing team and they're using bots and streams, they're basically ending your career because you cannot compete where you can't compare. So if you don't have the bag to pay certain marketing teams to stay at the level that they're at, safe to say that you just won't have a chance, which is why the market share is always around 5 to 6% as far as others, meaning independents and small subsidiaries. Well, not small subsidiaries, small label. So when it comes to UMG, Warner, and Sony being at the top of the game, it's going to be like that for quite some time, because guess what? They don't care about bots as long as it doesn't deceive or injure the consumer. That's basically it. I don't really have anything else to get into. Drake and Vybz Kartel. Let me see what I had to say. Yeah, Drake and Vybz Kartel. Apparently they're going on tour, so shout out to them. October 26th to 27th is going to be the first ever Toronto show for Vybz Kartel, and it's at the Scott Bank Arena, tied to Drake's birthday celebrations, which is October 30th, and my fault. A third date, October 30th, was added due to high demand after the initial shows sold out fast. So you can get your tickets now. It may be sold out because apparently this is selling like hotcakes. I mean, you're definitely going to see academics at this show. I mean, if there's one thing academics loves, besides Drake, is Vybz Kartel. So when it comes to that, that show's going to be, I think it's going to be phenomenal. The way that Drake shut down Wireless, I mean, my whole coverage of that which, you know, shout out to y'all for supporting that wireless coverage. But as far as wireless, the way that Drake just shut down wireless, as far as night 1, night 2, night 3, just having different genres, bringing out legends such as Lauryn Hill, Vybz Kartel, Vanessa Carlton, basically just showcase that Drake is one of the greatest musicians of all time. So he's going to be all right. To give him actual advice as far as after this lawsuit, I know a lot of people are saying just put out good music. I mean, you put out Nokia, and people act like that wasn't like, you know, you put out a hit such as Nokia, and people are still asking for another one. So you already know the expectations for you, it's just on a whole nother level. So now I think the main thing to get around this is to put the I messed up by suing in your album. You got to put that on the album. If you don't come out and say, why did I sue? I should have never sued. You need to flip it. I need a double, triple entendre about I should have never sued. And that was weak of me. You have to get into that introspective bag of not suing as a rapper. You have to get into that bag, or else people are not going to take to your album as something that's a generational type album. Because this is like, it's not a make or break album because it's Drake, but the content is make or break. This album's going to let us know if you're going to take accountability or if you're just going to say everybody's hating on me. Same thing I pointed out with Kendrick's album, Jeannette. Side 7, I mean, White Tank Top is out here talking about how nobody likes him. He doesn't like the industry. He doesn't mess with the industry. Whole time he's one of the most Grammy awarded hip hop artists in the world. That type of ignorance to your perception to the industry, you can't be having. So like Side 7 did, you can't be having that type of ignorance. People want you to come out and keep it 8 more than 92, and that essentially is letting them know that you messed up with the lawsuit, should have never filed it, and of course, you're going to stick to good music, but you do have to address the lawsuit. At some point, you do have to address the lawsuit because that's not going to go away unless you address it. So anyways, that's my advice to Drake. I'm not just going to say, just put out good music like all the other people, because guess what? He's been putting out Nokia. Party Next Door is in Drake's album still to this day, as far as this year, is one of my top albums of the year. Somebody Loves You, or Somebody Loves Me. What was the other one? I forget the other one. Somebody Loved Me, and this is not Drake, Some Sexy Songs for You review, but basically what he did on Some Sexy Songs, giving us Nokia. Oh yeah, Nokia was off this album too. See, you know what I mean? People say put out good music. You put out an album in February 14th that had Nokia on it, one of the biggest smashes in hip hop as far as in the year of 2025. And people are like, just put out good music, man. So I'm giving you actual advice that's specific. So talk about the lawsuit, how you should have never filed it. Give some type of double, triple entendre. And that should be one of the hard hitting tracks as far as the lyrical tracks on you really deep diving into your mistakes of the battle. I think that would be very poignant because nobody believes you won the battle. I believe Family Matters is still the best track of the rap battle. But at the end of the day, people want you to specifically say, I shouldn't have sued, which I think is fair. As a rapper, you should never sue after you lose a rap battle. So anyways, Drake, Vybz Kartel, October 26th, October 27th, and apparently October 30th as well. This follows the 2025 Wireless Festival. I already talked about that. And so if you could get your tickets for the third date as far as October 30th, because of high demand, that date also may be sold out. But hey, at least I'll let you know beforehand if it's actually not. So y'all let me know, because Drake and Vybz Kartel in one place, definitely going to shut it down like it did in wireless. So with that being said, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about Drake's lawsuit versus UMG getting dismissed entirely? And do you believe that Drake can come back? And if you do, can you give Drake advice as far as what he should do with his upcoming album, Iceman?